I've got a proper like microphone on the DSLR, so yeah, audio is going to be good.
How was your trip to Pakistan? I mean, are we just gonna
Oh my
dive
God,
right into it?
it was awesome, man. Like I was a little bit apprehensive after my last trip kind of went wrong
It
there.
went
So
went
I
wrong.
was always worried about going back. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Hmm.
But this time it was totally fine, and I had an incredible time.
I mean,
That's
I,
the
I,
only way I can
I, I
describe
got
it.
really excited when you told me I'm in Pakistan. I was like, okay, that's interesting. When you come back, the first question that I'm gonna ask you is, how was it like there? When did you return? When did you return?
That's the question the immigration guys are going to have for me as soon as I step back into India. Honestly, that's what they ask. The last time I went back through immigration, they said, "Oh, how was Pakistan? And why were you in Pakistan?" So, yeah, I get that question
I
a
mean,
lot.
I mean, from their perspective, it makes sense for them to ask you this question, right? I mean,
Totally, totally. I get it. I get it.
I mean, you can't. I mean, you might have to sit there and explain to them. I went there for content, but I mean, they might not find it to be a legitimate reason. So that's all fair.
I just start showing them my photos of me eating chapli kebab and that kind of stuff, and they understand, just a tourist.
That's fine. Okay, so Carl, welcome to the Stories with Rusty podcast. Thank you for doing this. This is, I mean, I don't know. I just feel like I have to do a proper introduction for you. I don't usually do it with guests, but I think you've made a name for yourself in the Indian YouTube space because of the expose videos that you've done in short. I mean,
Yeah.
if and I just want to know how did you get into this weird space? What were you doing before you were a YouTuber? And yeah.
Yeah, before I was a YouTuber, I was working in the music industry back in
Oh.
New Zealand.
Hmm.
I was working for the big major record labels, Sony, University, Universal, and Warner, and I was working in online investigations.
Oh wow.
So finding people sharing, copyright infringing music online, finding torrenters, basically.
is is that why you came to India? Because I mean, I remember a time where all we used to do was pirate everything. I mean, we still do, but it's reduced somewhat. But
Yeah, no, I think we were all like this in the 90s and the late 2000s and the early 2000s, right? Like everyone was on LimeWire, Napster, and
yeah,
what was it? I don't know, Pirate Bay.
Pirate Bay. I think Pirate Bay still works. I don't remember using Napster in my lifetime. All I remember was there's this Pakistani website. It's called songs.pk dot something something. That's where we used to get our
Yeah.
music from. And the funny thing about was that if you missed the PK, then it was a porn website that you were directed to. So that was the whole hoo-ha in the when I was in school about it. But okay, tell me a bit more about yourself. What is Carl like other than the YouTube personality who looks like PewDiePie and get confused for PewDiePie?
Yeah, I'm basic, man. I'm a basic dude. There's nothing kind of fancy or quirky about me, I don't think. I have a passion and a love for India. That would be something I think a lot of people might find strange. Maybe people, back home in New Zealand would find strange, like my parents, like why India? It's probably the quirkiest thing about me, and I followed that passion for India, like actually coming to India, living there and marrying into an Indian family. So yeah, I really took it to the extreme, right? But
Is there
that's
a
just
is,
my,
is,
my
is there a
love for
particular
India.
reason? Like, are you aware of the reason behind this fascination or love for India?
It started when I first tried Indian food for the first time, when I was like
Oh.
17 years old.
Mm-hmm.
It started with the food and it just grew from there. Like I started making Indian friends. They started teaching me about Bollywood, about Hindi, about Indian culture, and I just kept falling in love with it. So yeah, you can just say my Indian friends also helped me fall in love with it and taught me everything about India. And it's hard to explain, but a lot of people have said maybe I was Indian in a past life. That's why I've, clicked so well with India and why I had that desire to come to India and stay there.
Sure, that's an Indian concept as well. So why not?
Yeah, that's what I can put it down to, man. It's impossible to explain, actually.
Which is I mean which makes sense in a weird way. I mean you're staying in India now. Do you not plan to go back to New Zealand? Like that is the general question. Why stay in New Zealand? Why stay in India and not decide to go back?
Because India feels like home to me.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's as simple as that. Like I love Delhi. Delhi's my favorite place in the world. It has been since the first time I stepped into the New Delhi airport there, and I walked out the door and just fell in love with Delhi. So yeah, it's where my heart is basically, and that's more than just my wife. Like, I was in love with Delhi in India before I even met my wife, but now my wife and her family are there too, so it's perfect for me, man.
Have you ever shared the story of how you met your wife online? Have you? Or have you not?
I don't maybe. I think I shared it with Humans of Delhi. I think they did a little write-up on it.
Yeah, but I mean, those guys don't compare to stories with us. I want the full story. I am here just for the wholesome stories. Go ahead.
Yeah, so actually, I was staying in Malavia Nagar. I was in India for 6 months, and I found someone on Airbnb who let me stay with her for on like a renting basis. And so that was my base to travel all around India from in Malavia Nagar. And Manisha was a friend of this girl's, and one time she came over for a birthday party, and I just remember opening the front door to let some guest in, and I just saw Manisha, and something just clicked. For some reason, that very second, I just thought, wow, there's something special about her, and it just started from that very point. And I can remember that moment so vividly. It's really strange. So yeah, it started from there. It was actually her birthday. Her birthday party she was coming to.
Isn't that a true Bollywood style story? I mean, I love it.
Yeah.
I absolutely love it.
It was on Manisha's birthday. So.
and you have a first glance, and then you look at her. Quite fascinating. But okay, I mean, moving on to the world of YouTube, because I'm sure that's what the audience will be most interested in. How did you get into this whole sort of a niche that you've carved for yourself about making videos about scams in India? Okay, so one criticism that I could think of is that, I speak from a very analytical and critical perspective, that you're trying to make use of the scams that we are all aware of, and trying to capitalize on it. Is that something that is your perspective when you started making those videos, or were you just aghast at whatever you had experienced and wanted to just share it online?
Yeah, so all these videos came from my own personal experiences, from having gone through these. And the whole goal the entire time was just to help foreigners travel safely and confidently in India by showing them how to avoid the bad sides. And man, people don't know about these scams. That's why these videos have been so helpful to people.
Of course.
So yeah, the whole point was just to help people. That's the whole point of my entire channel, to, just help people. That's my passion in life as well.
And I see that your channel has sort of gone through a whole arc of itself. Initially, it was about trying to help people, but now it has grown more into celebrating the Indian culture, amongst little things about scams and stuff. How did that transition come from? Because from a viewer's perspective, you won't expect to find that sort of a content from someone who is not Indian per se. I don't know if you have an Indian passport yet or not, but I mean, from the looks of it, from us Indians, we tend to judge an individual. I mean, most people would, from their appearance, and the appearance of your channel and your content doesn't necessarily speak that this chap would try to capitalize on this stuff. So how does that come across? How does this arc come across? How long has it been that you started YouTube? And start there, please.
Yeah, I've been on YouTube for 2 years now. I started completely by accident. I had no idea that I wanted to be making videos on YouTube. Before I came to India, I just went to the store and I bought a GoPro Hero Session 5, and I just said, I'll make some videos and see how this goes. Just no expectations, right?
Yeah.
And I just had this idea. I loved India so much that I wanted more people to come to India. And one of the big problems is foreigners are scared to come to India because they've heard so much about scams, and they're a little bit worried. So I thought, if I make these videos about scams and educate people like that, then I can make them feel more confident about coming to India, right? But those scam videos are depressing at the same time, right? Like, they're a bit downer, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, exactly.
I can't just make scam videos, man. Like, I have to do other things.
You can
celebrate India.
They'll get you a lot of views, but then you will not be able to share your love for India.
Yeah, exactly. I need to keep things balanced, right? Yeah. So I do everything. I love Indian food. I love chaat. I love I love, incredible travel destinations. I love village life in India. So I cover all these things as well. The views aren't as big usually, but that's what I do for myself because I just want to share my entire experience in India through my channel. And I realized pretty early on that I didn't want to just make scam videos,
And how has it been from? Is this something that you're doing full time now, or you're doing other stuff as well?
No, I only do this, man. That's it. Just YouTube.
A very legitimate question would be how does this help you sustain yourself? Because views and the revenue that comes from views in India is not about as much.
Yes, it's never been about money for me, man. I left the corporate world back in New Zealand. I saved a lot of money working in corporate life back in New Zealand. And when I left that world, I just said to myself, Karl, I never want to go back to that. I just want to follow my passions and just do things that will help people going forward. And so, yeah, the money's not great, but it's not about money for me. Like, how do I explain that any better? I feel fulfilled in my life by just being on YouTube and making videos, and I literally meet people on the street who say, Karl, your videos helped me travel in India. Thank you so much. I've had a great holiday, and that's the greatest feeling I can have in life, that satisfaction.
Is that lack of fulfillment one of the reasons you left the corporate world, or was there another reason?
Totally, man. Like, I felt like a slave to the grind, we say, like stuck in the rat race, just not living for myself, just living to make money for other people. And, I didn't want to go to work every day. The best part of my day was getting on my motorbike in the morning and cruising in the work. Like, just riding my motorbike was the best part of my day. I love motorbikes. So, that means something's wrong, man. Like, something's wrong when you're not enjoying your life.
And how long ago was this?
That was 4 years ago. 4 years.
So what were you doing for the 2 years that you were not making YouTube videos and were not working?
Yeah, first 2 years I was just exploring India. I had this goal to travel to every state and union territory in India, and then India before partition. So I just started doing that, man.
That's fascinating. I mean, to me, it sounds like a very cliche story of the perspective that a lot of foreigners have about India, that you go to find yourself there. Because when I was in London and I was having conversations about India with the other people, these are all the stories that they heard as well. I mean, but you truly are the first person that I have personally met who has been able to turn that into a reality.
It's actually true. I never quite thought about it like that because it's very cliche, but
exactly.
In a very real way, you're right, man. You're totally right. Like, you can say I found myself in India, maybe I found my inner Indian in India. That's probably a better way to put it.
But you were talking about fulfillment. Is it just the meeting people on the streets who are helped by your work? Is that the fulfillment, or there's more to it?
It's knowing that I'm helping people. Like, ever since I was young, I always had this passion to help people. So I was always a computer nerd, okay? And I would always be the guy fixing the neighbor's computer, fixing some random person's computer, fixing my family's computers. That was me. I always liked to help. So it just... like YouTube allows me to do that, right? Like, on a huge scale to help people. Yeah. So that's the way I see it, man.
I mean, that's a really good way to look at it. Talk to me about the meeting people. I mean, how fascinating is that from your perspective? Because I've only met a couple of people on the streets who have happened to recognize me, and I know that might happen sometime in the future. But from your perspective, people would anyway come up to you and be fascinated because you are a foreigner, and we for some reason are obsessed with foreigners. But what is the difference between someone who just comes up to you out of fascination and someone who comes up to you admiring your work? How is that feeling like?
It's just fulfilling, man. But I get a lot of people coming up to me asking if I'm PewDiePie.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the most hilarious thing. In Delhi, literally once a week, people will come up to me and say, "Hey, are you PewDiePie? What are you doing in India? Can I take a selfie?" Like, a lot of people are confused with me and PewDiePie, man. A lot of people.
Again, okay. So my deeper question is, you must have run into a lot of trouble as well while shooting these videos, right?
Yeah. I mean,
any good
I have
stories
met
around
people.
that? Any good stories around that?
Yeah, I have met people from my videos, from my scam videos. So I was in Connaught Place and a guy recognized me from making these scam videos. Me and my friend were about to enter this. It was a travel agent who was scamming people, like really overcharging foreigners.
Okay.
And this dude just recognized me and tried to grab my camera off me. And he was angry and he was yelling something. And I just bailed, man. I just got the hell out of there because the last thing you want to do is screw with these people on the streets of Delhi. I was outnumbered and it can get really rough there, man. Like this, I've heard stories of other people having their faces slit with razor blades just in that little area because there's quite a lot of competition just among the travel agents and the people trying to sell stuff around the back streets of Connaught Place. So yeah, another time I met a rickshaw driver he actually blamed me because he wasn't making as much money off foreigners as he used to. He's like, you're the reason for this. And he's telling me this while he's drinking this massive can of beer.
Oh.
He is totally wasted.
Yeah.
And I felt a bit worried at that point because he was drunk, so I just got out of there. Said, sorry bro, gotta go. But the danger doesn't come from that really. The danger comes from these scam call centers which I'm targeting now because these guys have money. These guys are seriously cashed up individuals. A guy got raided a call center in Moti Nagar in Delhi got raided yesterday, and the guy had stolen $14 million American from American citizens. So that's how cashed up a small call center in Delhi can be. And these guys have tried to reach out to me through my friends and through my father-in-law as well. So yeah, that's where the real danger comes from, these scam call centers.
Do you feel like a superhero at this point? Because I mean, from that perspective, it does sound like the good that you're trying to do. It's very filmy, if I may put it that way. I mean, it's very real, but it's also a very interesting story from an outsider perspective. Of course, the viewers would be thankful for you doing it, but why take all of this responsibility on yourself?
Because everyone's too afraid to do anything in their life. Like, I find it, how do I put this? If you don't do something, nothing's going to change, right? And so you can't be afraid of these people. You just have to do and act and try and make a difference in the world. If you don't do anything, nothing's going to happen. And people tell me don't put your nose where it doesn't belong, stuff like that. But I'm like, no, man, I'm sticking up for foreigners and Indians who are being scammed by these damn call centers, and someone has to do it. And if that has to be me, then I don't care. I'm going to do it.
I mean, quite a genuine reason. So, talk to me about are you friends or are you acquainted with any other people in the Indian YouTube space? Because technically now you are an Indian YouTuber, and Indian YouTube space is really fascinating. Are you friends? Do you work with any of them? How does that space work like?
No, man, I'm a bit of a lone wolf. I don't have I've never had many friends in my life in general, so I keep my circle very close. It's just how I've always been. I find it really hard to trust people and to make friends. So that's me. So no, I don't have many friends in the Indian YouTube space, to be honest. Like no close friends anyway.
Then what do your close friends look like? What role do your close friends play in your life? I mean, I'm quite similar. I don't have a lot of friends per se, but I have a very limited, very close circle that I can trust, that I can brainstorm with, that I can discuss stuff with. How does that work for you? What role do your close friends play?
Yeah, my friends really they range in age and gender and quite diverse. I mean, my best friend is my wife, obviously, and she's my guru in life, you can say. She teaches me Hindi, she teaches me everything I know about India and about culture. And she's the one who I talk to about everything, like something I've done in a video or some backlash I'm facing, or she's like my rock. Then I have kind of my male friends on the outside, and we don't talk about YouTube or what I'm doing, to be honest. we just do guy stuff, right? Talk about games and movies and music, and yeah, that's it. Like, yeah, I could say it's my wife who I owe a lot to.
Does she help you with your video ideas as well? Scripting,
No.
planning and execution, or is that all you?
Nah, that's all me. I do everything myself, including the editing. I use her. I kind of sound everything off her.
Yeah.
Not really the scam stuff. That's all on my own. But stuff about Indian culture and how to explain things. That all comes from her.
I mean, you mentioned, and I've seen it in your videos as well. You're quite well versed with Hindi. How do the people that you meet react when you tell them, when they realize that you know and you can understand how they speak? I'm sure there must be some good stories around that as well.
It's one of the best feelings, being able to. I mean, the first thing I believe is if you move to another country, it's up to you to adapt and to assimilate into that country. And language is the number one way for you to adapt into a culture. And if you can't speak Hindi in Delhi, then you can't connect with the common man, right? You can't connect with the Aam Admi, and that's what I want to do. I want to be part of Delhi. So yeah, that language is so important. And one funny story, just last week in Pakistan, in Islamabad, I'm walking down this little gully, and this guy goes, "Donald Trump aa gaya." And I just looked at him. I'm like, "Kya?" And he's like, "Oh, like he got it."
I mean, those must be some great reactions, like walking within the streets of Chandni Chowk, and you would get the same reactions or same comments from people. Does it not start to bother you at a certain point when people just randomly yell out things at you?
It doesn't happen that much, but when it does happen, it's usually abusive. It's usually something like, I don't know, they'll use swear words on me. Usually they'll be like, "Hey, deko, mara, beep," you know what I mean? Stuff like that. But I just look at them, and then they're like, they're usually sorry. You know, I stare at them and they understand. You know, so
I mean,
usually it's just having fun. These dudes. So.
Yeah, those guys are coming from a point of fascination, right? I mean, that is not the behavior that they would expect, and that's not how they are generally brought up. Talk to me about the difference in culture between India and New Zealand, where you grew up and where you're living right now, and the places that you've traveled in India, because you would have a really unique perspective in that sense.
Oh my God, it's totally different. I had to relearn a lot of things when I came to India.
For instance?
New Zealand's a very quiet place, a very small place, and it's not as family orientated as India is, that's for sure. So I remember when I got to India, the first thing I had to learn was to stand up for myself. There is not much order. So for example, people will just push in line in Howdirams. They like push in front of you to order their samosa. And I'll have to be like, "Bro, line hai. Like, what are you doing?" Like, in New Zealand, it doesn't happen. People stand in line and queue. But in India, you have to stick up for yourself and you have to fight for yourself.
Yeah.
So that's one really great thing I learned. India really toughened me up and made me a stronger person.
Yeah.
So I'm really grateful for that. And the second thing, how to be adaptable. Like, you have to adapt in India. If you don't adapt, like, just go home. Like, it's not going to work out for you. Like 5 people can fit on a bus seat. Not 3 people, 5 people. And so this takes a bit of getting used to for us foreigners, but you get used to it, and yeah, that's life.
I mean, makes sense. I mean, for people, it's just a very Indian thing to do, and we become very complacent about it. We just accept it as a way of life, which is fair. I mean, it's got its own sense of uniqueness to it. What other places except Delhi do you like traveling to frequently? Where do you travel to generally?
Yeah, where do I go, man? I really love going to Kashmir. That's a really special place. I love being there. Where else? I really love Gujarat. That's a great state, and I love this little place called Vadodara or Baroda. Yeah. You might remember it as. It's just a beautiful little city to live in. I've got some really good friends there. So I could say Kashmir, Gujarat, Chhattisgarh is one incredible state which I don't think anyone goes to. Yeah. Chhattisgarh is just so clean and so green. They really respect the forest and seems the wildlife there. It's a different vibe. And then another favorite place would be Lakshadweep.
Oh yeah.
Like just the most beautiful beaches and the most beautiful islands I've ever seen in my life are out there. So
I'm gonna plan
yeah,
a trip there soon. Yeah, Lakshadweep is definitely on my go-to places. Okay, so 25 minutes for you. That's what my timer is now saying.
okay, let me
And he wants to go visit Kashmir. Any tips for him? So he hasn't been to Kashmir yet, and he wants to take all of us as well. Any tips for my father?
Any tips? Oh, I think your father will be fine. I think you should go to, I mean, you should start in Srinagar, then you should go somewhere like Pahalgam, which is this beautiful valley. Definitely go to Pahalgam. Yeah, I can say that much. Go to those two places, Srinagar and Pahalgam, and you'll have an incredible holiday.
Yeah. What do you think about?
If you want to be if you want to be more adventurous, you can go out to Uri for a day, and you can actually go to the friendship bridge between India and Pakistan. So that's quite amazing. You can literally go and see Pakistan from this bridge.
Oh, might try that as well. Tell me, what do you think about the difference between the city life in India and the village life in India? Because a lot of people who live in the cities don't generally get to experience that, and it's always they tend to look down upon that aspect of India for some reason. People who live in the tier 1 and tier 2 cities, and what has your perspective around that been?
Yeah, they're two completely different things, and village life is very. I'm lucky because we have a village in Haryana and a village in Rajasthan, and we go there often. And oh my God, like the villagers live a very pure life. The food they eat is literally coming from their farm. They are literally milking the buffalo every morning and getting this pure milk.
That's how we get our milk as well. Yeah.
They're sleeping under the stars every single night. Like they're sleeping in the courtyard of the house, and then they're working the land every day. Like these people are incredible, and the way they're living is, how it seems so healthy to me. How we all should be living like that, man. Like, yeah, it's a little paradise, but it's very hard work, man. Like it's such hard work. I couldn't do it, but these guys are tough as nails, man. They're so tough.
And the people in the city don't tend to do that. They don't tend to appreciate it. They don't tend to even conceptualize how it might work.
It's a beautiful life, man. Like, yeah, if you can handle it. And I love going. I love going to the village. We spend a lot of time there.
But what is it that you love about Delhi then? You said Delhi is your favorite place in the world. What is it about Delhi that you absolutely love? I mean, I might go on and say it as well, that Delhi is my favorite place in the world. I mean, I would put London and Delhi at par, but what do you like about Delhi?
Delhi has the history, man. Like when it comes to a capital city, Delhi has absolutely everything. You've got Old Delhi, you've got New Delhi, you've got the incredible like Chanakyapuri side of Delhi. Then you have all the history and all the monuments. You've got malls if you want malls. You've got amazing food as well. And it's a comfortable city to live in as well. Like it's very spacious. And then you've got the metro. Like a tourist can go anywhere in the metro.
True.
Like, I don't know. Delhi to me is just a perfect city. I just love everything about it.
I would agree. Okay, I want to talk about a little bit, in fact, a lot about the content that you make and the process that you go through. So talk to me about the videos that you do about scams and stuff. How do you conceptualize that, and how do you execute those? Like right from the start.
Yeah, it only comes from experiences that I've had. So let's talk about the guy who squirted poo on my shoe, the poo on the shoe scammer at Connaught Place.
Yeah.
He sneaks up behind foreigners and he squirts dog poo on people's shoes, and then he takes you and says, "Oh, you've got poo on your shoe. We need to clean it off for 2,000 rupees."
Oh wow.
So how that video came about is that happened to me. That happened to me 3 years ago. And every single time that I went back to Connaught Place and I walked along that road, I just had my camera and I just hit record. Every single time. And it took me 2 years to capture that scam, because it's a very difficult scam to capture, right? Like so difficult. And so yeah, it took me 2 years to capture that. So that's how these things come about. They're not very scripted. I have kind of an idea. I have an intro and an outro usually, and then the rest, whatever happens, just happens, and I give my reactions. It's very run and gun, if you know what I mean.
And how do you come across these? I mean, I'm sure not all of them could be your experiences, in the sense that you will have to talk to people about the experience that they have had, and you would have to go looking for them at a certain point. Does that happen?
No, the thing is, I'm a magnet for scammers as a foreigner. So
Yeah.
these people literally come to me. Okay, like I don't have to do anything. That's the beautiful thing. They just come to me, and I just note it down in my notebook, and I say, go back there and so time and capture that. See if it happens to you again. When it comes to like, so there were some videos which I made about like fake cashmere and how to identify real cashmere. Again, I just walked into Palaka Bazaar and I just went to the first store, the first guy who said, come in, that's it. And he was selling me fake cashmere. It's kind of that easy because I'm a foreigner. Like, it's really easy.
And
it's different for you guys as Indians, man. Like, they don't target you guys so much for you wouldn't have these experiences.
We sort of know that, I mean, you won't find real cashmere in Palika Bazaar. I mean, that's sort of a thing that you are well aware of. But I can understand that a foreigner might not be well acquainted with the fact. I mean, Palika Bazaar is basically the place where you get everything which is a first copy or a counterfeit. I mean, you won't even buy a PlayStation. I mean, you can go and buy a PlayStation 5 there right now for about 80,000 rupees. But again, you won't get the service. So, I mean, for us Indians, we are well aware of that these things are happening. And I would even assume that, I mean, that's the fun of it, right? For us, it's quite fun because we know these places exist and we do all this. For example, Nehru Place, you would go there and you would get all kinds of pirated softwares. We know that happens. We know that exists. And we don't do anything about it because that's just how it is. That's just how it works. How does the audience react to your content? I mean, there is a certain part of the audience that is grateful for it, but I'm sure there's an entirely flip side of the coin which the audience does not appreciate, where they believe that you are looking down upon India. How does that?
Yeah. I wouldn't say a lot of people, but there's some people who just don't understand the angle that I'm coming from, and some people who don't understand the way I'm speaking. They don't understand my English so well, so they miss the nuances in how I make these videos. They just think it's a foreigner coming to hate on India, but they don't get the educational side of this and how these videos are actually promoting tourism and making foreigners feel more safe and confident about coming to India. And I've got so many messages proving that. So, there's those people, but you just got to ignore them, man, and just keep doing what you're doing because so many more people support it.
Have you considered making videos in Hindi, because that might give you a wider audience? Because I am sure that must be an issue, because not a lot of Indians speak English or they understand English videos, which is why there might be a discrepancy in the number of views that you get in different videos. But have you considered switching to an entirely Hindi model? Because I mean, you are sort of versed in Hindi.
I have done that. So I expanded and I said, okay, now let's target scams that are happening to North Indians in Hindi. And so those videos I made completely in Hindi, and the views do really well when I do it in Hindi, like quite well. And it works truly. Yeah.
Is there a difference between? I'm sure there must be, but the number of scams that happen in big Indian cities versus the smaller ones? Yeah, so the tourist scams only tend to happen in the big tourist cities like Jaipur, Delhi, Bombay.
Where else? Bombay. These are the main hubs for tourism scams. If you go somewhere like Indore or Vadodara, there's no tourist scams, right? But there you have scam call centers who are calling foreigners and trying to extract money.
How did you get into this world? How did you get into this world of scam call centers from tourist scams?
These guys called me at my home in New Zealand, man. They made it personal. That's how it started. I got pissed off because they literally called me and I started filming what was happening. And I'm just like, this is so wrong and I can do something about this. And every week they still call my parents. Every single week my parents get one call from these people. Like, the problem's that rampant and it's really destroying India's reputation. I don't think Indians have any idea how many of these calls are going to foreigners and how it's affecting foreigners' perception of India and Indians. So I've got a friend at a call center and he said when his Indian colleague makes a legitimate call from a call center, they say, no, you've got an Indian accent, I don't want to talk to you, you could be a scammer. And he has to pass the phone to, someone with a different accent. So that's the way it's getting, man. And that's going to affect the legitimate call center industry in India too. So I just thought I can do something about this,
And you're doing a great job. I mean, people seem to appreciate it a lot. The context for this question is a lot of expats do live in India, in Delhi particularly, but they never necessarily get to share their experience, at least not on a platform as big as YouTube. How is it like permanently moving to India? How has life evolved or changed, for the good or the bad?
Yeah, so the foreigners that are in Gurgaon or Delhi, they're there for work, man. They don't want to be in India. You know what I mean? Like, they have to be there.
Yeah.
I'm in India because I love India and because I want to be in India. So that's probably why you won't hear much from them. For them, it's just work, man. It's just work for them. It's not love or it's not passion. So that's the big difference between me and other foreigners. There are some foreigners who do enjoy their time more than others, but I know for a lot of them it's just work. But I don't know, my life changed in so many ways from coming to India. India's just taught me so many things, like I told you before. And India gave me everything in my life. It gave me YouTube, it gave me my wife and my family. Like, man, I owe India everything, to be honest. It gave me freedom,
Yeah, it gave you freedom and it gave you a sense of purpose as well, I would like to add.
Yeah. All these things, man. So, yeah, like India is just heaven.
How important do you think it is for an individual to have that sense of purpose and sense of fulfillment in their lives to, do something good about it? Tell me about it.
I think everybody watching this will be thinking about that right now as you ask me that question. You know what I mean? Like,
of course, I know.
We all think about this, but a lot of us are scared to act on it, right? I was scared to act on it for so long until I was like 31 years old. I didn't act on my dreams and my creativity. I didn't act until I got kicked out of the company that I was working for, until I got made redundant, okay? I actually had to be pushed.
Yeah.
But I knew at that point, like, I have to change my life, and thank God I did. Like, you could take that little risk and it can have a lot of reward.
Any particular reason why you were kicked out of there, or were you just not interested in working there anymore?
I wasn't kicked out. I got made redundant. I got made redundant, which basically means the company wasn't doing well, so they had to cut staff, and it was my turn to go. So I was very disillusioned with that world already, and I just said, if I lose this job, then I'm gonna do something. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it on my own. You know what I mean? I'm gonna give it a try anyway. But it's a hard question for everybody to answer.
I mean, it's a very psychological and philosophical question that everyone sort of ends up having a similar answer about, and we know what the answer is, but we still tend to be quite scared about taking the first step or diving head first into it. I mean, for you, it worked out really well, at least.
So a lot of people ask me that as well, and I can't answer it to people because it's a different life you guys have in India. You guys have far more responsibility than I do. Like, what if you have to support your family? Yeah. Like, your parents don't work and you're the breadwinner. Like, I don't know how to answer that. People ask me, but I don't know how you're going to do it, man.
That's true. That's
it's
true. I mean,
so difficult.
That is something that even I experienced when I started talking to people, because in a country that is not India, that is not a South Asian country, this concept of family exists, but it is not as intense as it is here. You're not expected to provide for the entire family. You're not expected to finish your college by 21 and then work all your life. So those are I think the primary differences. For example, people here generally don't go study for a second or third masters after they're done with their first one. How's your educational part of your life been? And talk to me about that. How's that been? How was that?
Yeah, I was horrible at school. I absolutely hated school. My entire life I hated school. I was always naughty. I just didn't care, I didn't want to be there. all I wanted to do was focus on what I wanted to do, which was learn about computers or music. You give me those classes and I was number one and I won all the awards in the computer classes, for example. But everything else, I flunked and I was a failure and I had to resit a year at college because I did so badly because I didn't care. And eventually I kind of snapped out of that. I snapped out of that when I left school and I went to university because then I could focus on what I wanted to do, right? And I became a straight A student. So I had a rough start, you can say. But when I got to university, I studied audio engineering. Then I studied film production. And then I realized that the music industry is dying and I need to pivot into computers. So I followed my passion for computer science and I got a graduate diploma in computer science. So I've always studied and followed what I enjoyed, but it was a tough start from school, man, really tough start from school.
And I mean, another interesting perspective I would like to learn from you is how is life different being in your 30s compared to your 20s? Because I mean, that's a very personal question that I want to ask you as well, because any elder person that I know has a different perspective and experience in life. I just try and take away as much as I can from them. What changes once you say are married or have a sort of a settled lifestyle? What changes?
Yeah, oh my God. My 20s, I was always a very immature person. I thought all the way into my 20s even. Took me a long time to grow up. Took me a long time to follow my passion in life. But I feel like I needed to do all those years in the corporate life, and I feel like I needed to do everything I did in my 20s to get to where I am today because I needed to learn a lot in my 20s. So yeah, 20s was just learning for me, man. And I'm lucky I had some really nice mentors. At two of the companies I had, like the bosses were my mentors. So I was so lucky. And they're still two of my best friends. They're much older than me. And yeah, I was lucky I had mentors during my 20s, so lucky. Now that I'm in my 30s...
Talk to me more about these mentors though, because I also have a similar experience, but I want to hear from you. How does having a mentor in your life turn it for the better is what I'm asking.
Yeah, so these two guys, Tony and Mark, they were my bosses. But they were more than my boss. They were like father figures, you can say. And I didn't ask for it, but they could see that I needed it, I think. They could see that I was quite rough and I needed, some rounding around, some fine tuning.
Yeah.
And so they just took it upon themselves to do it, man. And I just reacted to them positively and we became really good friends and a bond formed. I can only put it down to luck, man. It just comes down to luck for me. I've just been really lucky. Because I know that is not the case, especially in India, in Indian workplaces, man. Like, this doesn't happen, man, from what I've heard.
I mean, we don't have the concept of mentors. We generally are scared of our bosses, or we are bitchy about them, or we don't like them. Because I don't know, for whatever reason. This is the reason I also never wanted to be a part of the corporate structure, because whatever friends I have that are working in that space, they don't usually have good experiences and they're always very sad about it. So I was always put off from that. But the people that I happened to work with eventually were great people. And I mean, I would assume that it was Tony and Mark, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah.
It was Tony and Mark that imbibed this sense of, because they rounded you up, you sort of took the responsibility and you sort of took those qualities and started on this whole career path of rounding people up through your content. I mean, I would assume so.
Yeah, actually, they helped me a lot. And I've always been a guy who's like to help other people anyway. So I can just put it down to luck, man. Like, so lucky to meet those two guys, because I know this is rare in the world.
What are your plans for your future content? What do you plan to do ahead? Going ahead, say for the next 2 years, 3 years. It's been 2 years. So let me put things in context. For being on YouTube for 2 years and having 1 million subscribers is quite a big achievement. It's quite admirable, because for me, I think at the 2-year mark, I had 2,500 subscribers. So a lot of people, at least a lot of YouTubers that I know, and I know a lot of YouTubers, they don't have this liberty of being in that space in terms of number, in terms of the mainstream appeal that you are at. What do you plan to do with it in the future? Where does the content go?
The numbers don't mean anything. I hate analytics. I've always hated analytics and that side of life. I'm more creative. So I don't even think about the numbers. I don't look at the numbers. Like, it's just numbers. I just focus on how I can help people. And that's all I've ever focused on. Can this video help someone? In terms of the future, my plan is to get out of YouTube, man, because there's only so long you can be on YouTube, man, before someone else comes along. You know what I mean? Like, there'll always be someone who comes along who's better than you, and who people get bored of you, and all sorts of things happen. So the next 2 years is my exit, man. Like, I think all creators have to have some kind of exit, and I'm building a company behind the scenes. You know what I mean? That's what I'm doing. I'll launch a travel company in the next. I mean, I was meant to launch it by now, a travel company, but obviously COVID happened. Cool. So I'll launch that in the next 2 years, and that'll be the future for me, and a way that I can actually make money. You know what I mean? And build a future. I probably always do YouTube, but I think it's important to also build a business on the side and have an exit strategy, because our time will come, man. That's what I feel.
I am building my exit strategy right now. I've not even reached my peak yet, but I'm building a strategy right now. Because I mean, you need to have a business acumen if you are on YouTube. You need to think about the business side of things. But I want to know, why do you not have a structure in place for your content, a team in place for your content? Because I mean, I would assume if you take the responsibility of editing the videos out, or say the videos that you're talking about travel, if you're talking about places to visit, those might be conceptualized and executed quicker if you put a structure around that in place. Have you not thought about that? And if you have, what has the conclusion been, or are you still working on it?
Yeah, I mean, I should hire an editor, but I'm a bit of a control freak. If I don't edit it, it doesn't have my touch on it. I feel like, I don't know. No, I don't feel like, I can't. I find it hard to give the control to someone else.
I was also of the same thought. I used to be of the same thought. Where I would edit every single video that I put out. But now that I run 5 channels, I have to take someone's help. So, I mean, it took me some time, but I did find at least a couple of people who I can trust, who sort of resonate with the style that I have or the sense of content that I make. So, I mean, if you go out looking, then I'm sure you will be able to find it. But do you not plan to do more with the content? For example, you can, I mean, from what I would assume, you can definitely get a travel show on an OTT platform if you plan to work towards it. Have you not thought of those things?
Yeah, I'm not interested, man. Like,
you're not interested.
I love YouTube, man. I love that the content's free. I love, an OT, like Netflix or something, won't have the same reach that YouTube has. I can't help as many people. I might earn some money, but life's not about money. I also don't do sponsorships or brand deals. Never, ever.
But you must get approached by a lot of brands, I'm sure.
Yeah. Every week, man. Multiple brands, and I literally reply nahi chahiye ji. And I just send the reply email. And I post it on Instagram when I do it.
That's fascinating. I mean, sponsorship is, I think, for a lot of YouTubers, in fact, for a majority of the Indian YouTubers, sponsorship is the only real way that they can make money out of YouTube, because the ad revenue is not that nice. I mean, it's not nice. It's just the truth about
You're right.
it. But why not sponsorship? You can integrate some good brands if you really want to, or are you just averse to it?
I just hate ads, and I hate selling myself. I feel like I'm selling myself. Like, I feel like I'm lying to people, like I'm reading from a script. I feel like I don't want to sell my audience, and I don't want to sell myself. And truth is very important to me. I can't say this product is great if I don't believe it. You know what I mean? And a lot of brands just want you to say something. Yeah, I can't bring myself to do it, and that's why having a business is so important. So I'm trying to build this business on the side. I can sell my own business 100% because I believe in it 100%.
And you will work on it, and it'll have your own touch, of course. But what if
Yeah, and I'm hoping the audience.
What if a brand that you do use comes across? Then what?
Yeah, I mean,
that must have happened, I'm sure.
yeah, like Royal Enfield, for example.
Yeah.
They've talked to me, but I still won't do anything. If there's a Royal Enfield bike in my video, it's because I paid for it myself, and because I actually love the brand. They don't need to pay me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It should be. That's how I feel it should be. Like truthful, like 100% the truth. I don't know. That's just
a second
just
time.
me, man.
The timer has gone on for a second time. So I mean, if you
cool.
reset, that's fair. I mean, I'm.
It just goes back to that point on authenticity, man. Like authenticity is so important. I think my audience will respect it about me, and they'll support my business when it comes. That's what I think.
It's true. It's true. It's something that I preach in my videos 100 times a day. That if you're not authentic with your audience, if you're not true, if you're not showing your real self, then there's no point in doing it. Because ethics, I can feel it that they're very important to you as well, and to me as well. If you don't have a certain set of values in place, regardless of whatever you're doing, then I just believe that you're not doing justice to your work or to yourself or to the people who are consuming your work. That's just I believe.
Yeah, it really gets me when these guys are advertising like credit cards, like telling kids to get into debt. Like the debt trap is one of the worst things you can be stuck in. It's so depressing. Or when they're advertising alcohol, or when they're advertising skin creams. Like, I just hate it, man. Like, I just find it so bad, to be honest.
That's true. And I think when the time comes for your business, I think the audience will reciprocate the trust that you have built. I'm sure of it. What content do you consume otherwise? Or do you not have time at this stage in life to consume content?
Well, I don't watch any scam content.
I mean, of course,
I don't I don't watch any content that I make. Like, I don't watch travel content, scam content. I follow the news. I follow Shekhar Gupta and The Print and his Cut the Clutter series. I really enjoy listening to him every night and getting that Indian perspective on things. Mm-hmm. What else do I follow? I watch a lot of gaming stuff at the moment because I'm getting back into gaming. After I left New Zealand, I just left my consoles at home.
Who's your favorite Indian gaming creator? Or do you watch any? Or do you just watch PewDiePie?
No, I don't watch PewDiePie. I just watch a couple of the news guys. There's no one in particular. I just follow the news. Man, I don't do much on YouTube. Let me see what else I do. There must be something, I'm sure of it. Let me see my subscriptions.
I have stopped consuming YouTube ever since I've started making, so I can resonate with that to a bit.
It's kind of good because it means you're not copying anyone as well. It means you're not saying, oh, that was a good idea, maybe I could do that. Like,
that is actually one of the reasons why I've stopped watching other people, because then consciously or unconsciously you do end up replicating some of this stuff, and then the audience realizes it, and then it's a whole issue.
Yeah, I'm only following news and music. That's it, man. Nothing else. Things that help me in my life.
I mean, that's good. Music is good. News, I have to be very honest, stopped consuming news. I've never consumed news particularly in my life. I don't know, for whatever reason. And now that there is no cable inside my house, it's all internet and all Fire Stick. So even my family has stopped consuming news. I'm grateful for that, because otherwise there's this whole wave of paranoia that keeps surrounding them. Now we just watch movies and TV shows. That's fair. Do you go out to watch movies? Do you go out to... I mean, how have things been in COVID for you, for your content?
Oh man, COVID was a bad time for me because
no scams are happening in the world.
Yeah, man, no, scams increased. Call center scams increased.
Yeah.
But the day before lockdown in India, I arrived in Uttarakhand to start Hindi classes for 3 months. I literally went to Hindi school for 3 months, and they freaking locked it down and closed the schools. And so I got stuck in Missouri for 2 months during lockdown by myself, alone in a room. And it was very difficult, like very difficult.
And post the lockdown, how has it been for the content? How has that been for... I mean, you found a whole new passion for exposing call centers, but other than that...
Yeah. It's difficult when you're a travel channel because primarily I love to travel, right?
Yeah.
And couldn't do any of that And then I got COVID, man. I got COVID once I got back to Delhi. As soon as I got to Delhi, I got COVID. And so I started making videos about COVID, just trying to help people understand what I'm going through and what my family's going through, and going through the quarantine that I had to go through. And then I made a whole series on plasma donation because I thought that was really important to give back to the people of India and to Delhi. And the way I could do that was by giving my plasma. So I donated as much as I could. And Kejriwal even came to me and he tweeted to me and he said, "Karl, you're a real Delhiite." So
I'm sure you are. I would agree. I would agree with Mr. Kejriwal. He's right. I mean, you do have the Delhi essence, except for the fact that you don't abuse as much, or at least you have not on this podcast. But I would say you have the Delhiites are known for having a bigger heart, and that I could sense in you for a bit. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, bro. So that felt really good to be acknowledged by the chief minister, man, of the city that I love. So yeah, Corona was difficult, but I made some interesting content around lifestyle and that type of thing during it. So it was fine. I didn't have any problems, to be honest. No scam content, of course. But doesn't matter.
Talking to you, I could feel like you have, now it seems like things in your life are pretty much in place. You know exactly what you're doing. I mean, of course, there is adventure in the sense that you're starting a business. But other than that, things are fairly in place. You are more clear in your head. How does it feel to be in that space in life where things are sort of slowed down and you can just relax and enjoy life?
Yeah, I feel like I've achieved a lot of what I wanted to do in the beginning on YouTube, like helping foreigners travel in India. I feel like that's nearly complete, to be honest. Yeah, so that's why I decided, okay, it's time to go back. It's time to cover call centers and help Indians in Hindi, because Indians are affected by scams as well. And then recently I said, okay, it's been 2 years. It's time to go back to Pakistan, another country that I'm passionate about as well.
Yeah. And once you're done with all India and Pakistan, where else do you plan to travel? I'm sure you must have traveled. I'm sure you must have traveled to other places as well. It's not just India.
Yeah, I've been all around the world, man, and that helped me also realize that India was where I wanted to be from traveling all around. I need to go back to Bangladesh. I need to go back to Sri Lanka. I just love this area of the world, man. This is it for me. Honestly.
And this is where most of the people are, so you'll get the best experience, you'll get the best stories, is what I would assume. I was asking about how being in a secure space or a very settled space worked in your favor, or how has it changed your personal life, your private life, your own sense of who Karl is?
I don't like staying still, man. I'm always fidgeting with something or moving around. That's why I like to travel, I think, as well. I like to have new experiences all the time. So I'm not at home much, and that's kind of how I like it. It was quite difficult during COVID because I couldn't get out and travel and explore. That's just part of me, man. And so, yeah, I can't ever see myself just staying at home. I always see myself moving around and traveling and doing something, man. So I don't think that's going to change anytime soon. The only thing that might change is I'm going to spend some more time playing Xbox at nighttime to relax. That's the only thing that's going to change, man. Yeah. It's the only thing.
And does your wife share this passion for travel and experiences with you?
Yeah, she does. She's definitely more family orientated and kind of close knit than I am. I can just go and travel for a long time. I miss my family, of course, but yeah, we're slightly different. She doesn't like to travel for long periods of time like I do. But no, she loves travel as well. So when we can, we do travel together. She couldn't come to Pakistan, unfortunately. The visa's very, very difficult for Indians to get. Yeah. So. Arashi would have came.
And do you plan to move your parents here? I mean, because it's a very Indian thing to live with your parents, and it's a different experiences for foreigners, I would assume. And since your wife is family oriented, I would assume she would be pushing you to focus on that aspect of your life as well. How's that been?
Yeah, I live at home with her parents, so I'm a Gar Jumai. It just works as a. As a foreigner, my family aren't here, so we can't live with them. But No, that's one thing I love as well. I love being with her parents and having them there in the same house, man. Like having a joint family is a beautiful thing if you can make it work. You know what I mean? Like if you're both respectful to each other, and her parents are really respectful to me and really caring and loving of me, so there's no issues, man. Like I didn't realize this, but this is one thing I realized after marriage. When you get married in India, you're literally marrying into the family. As foreigners, like, you guys get this, but as foreigners, like, we don't quite understand it, and I didn't understand it till it happened to me. Like, my wife's father becomes my father, quite literally, And I realized this when he was sticking up for me and defending me against other people in society who were saying bad things. And I was just like, oh my God, like, this is real. I'm their son now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's crazy. It's so beautiful.
It's beautiful. I mean, the Indian sense of family, the Indian family experience, I don't know if that's the right way to put it. It's very different from the rest of the world. And not just Indian, but
Totally.
I mean, this particular area, it's very different, it's very unique. And it has its own sense of problems, it has its own sets of concerns and issues. But I would still think it's comfortable for us to experience that. And anything which is not so family oriented, I think that is where the concept of Indian family values also comes from. This is what fascinating for. How do your friends from back home react to your life now? How are they appreciative of it, or are they curious about it?
Yeah, I think for the longest time they never understood it, especially my parents. They didn't understand it until they came to India. They came finally this year in January, just before COVID hit. And I think that's when they understood, like, this is what's happening in India is great, and the whole culture and society is a great thing, and that I'm doing well here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They couldn't understand it until they came. That's a lot of foreigners will say that they don't get it until they've been to India.
I think makes sense. And when are they visiting again? Now that there's COVID, but post that, I think, do you plan to visit? Where are you traveling next once you go back to India?
So when I go back to India soon, I honestly have no travel plans because COVID has made it so difficult. There's only 2 countries open in the world right now, Dubai and Pakistan, and I went to both of them. So back in India, I think, honestly, I got no plans right now. I need to get back to Kerala. No, I need to go south, man. I need to go south. I've neglected South India a lot. So I want to take my motorbike there.
Oh, a friend of mine is visiting Kerala right now. She's also a travel vlogger, and I mean, she's having a gala time. So I would, looking at her stories and Instagram posts, I would advise you definitely go visit Kerala. It's a beautiful place. I haven't been there personally. I do plan to travel, but I mean, if you get the opportunity to, you should. But okay, I think we've been going at it for about an hour. It's been a lot of fun for me. Do you have any last thoughts? Do you have any questions or something for me?
No, but what I have seen of you, you're a very intelligent and a thoughtful and analytical guy. So that's why I said yes to talking with you, because I saw that you're a smart dude. So yeah, keep doing what you're doing. I saw your views, and like some of them are insane. So your channel, it's gonna blow up any time, man. If it hasn't already blown up, I think it's gonna keep going for you, man. So just keep doing what you're doing, man, because it's awesome.
Thank you.
You speak so well. You speak really well.
That's something that comes from the schooling. It comes from the experiences. That's just how it is. I'm grateful.
Yeah.
I would say I have been really lucky in that aspect as well, because a lot of friends of mine who had the same experiences are not as articulate, I would like to say. But I guess I also have been lucky, just like you have been. It's a good place to be.
The most important thing is your personality, and if you have that winning personality, then like you do, so it's gonna go good for you, man. Like, people connect to you and they relate to you, and you tell stories really well. So yeah, you're gonna be super successful. You already are super successful anyway, man. So
no, I appreciate it. I think I'm quite humbled, but I think at this point I would say thank you again to you for doing this. It's been really fun. I'm sure the audience will have a lot of fun as well.